G'day all, it's Colin from PCTLC and thanks for joining me. In this video, I will be installing and looking around Lubuntu 20.04 long-term support. I would have to think this is the first long-term support for Lubuntu with the QT Desktop. So we're going to install it and have a look around. So before I do that, because it uses the Calamares installer, I'm going to partition the disks, or gparted. Looks like they don't have gpart. I think they've got some sort of KDE partition manager. That's the one. Let's just check that out. Not familiar with this one as I am with gparted. I'm going to have to see what I can do here. Right click. Okay. So we're working with this one here. So that will be this one. New partition table. GPT. This will destroy all data on the device. Okay, let's do that. So we're making a new table. And what can we do there? So we right click and try new. I'm going to do a FAT32, be boot, be EFI boot. Let's try that. And the size, okay, so it doesn't use the number pad for that. So 512 megabytes. Enter that. That will be, now do we have a option, edit mount point, check, restore properties. So how do we do EFI boot, ESP, edit mount point. So how do we set our flags with this? Is there any flags in here at all? Okay, so we right click again and go new and we'll select, let's just say 61,440 with ext4 primary. Okay, and then the rest will be a new ext4. Leave it as it is and click OK. Oh, we've got an advanced button there I didn't see. So if I was to delete this one and then do that again, what's under advanced? So if I go FAT32, EFI boot, and let's go to advanced. No, there's not really much under advanced, is there? Okay. And let's apply that. All operations successfully finished. Okay. Unallocated 7 megabytes, fair enough. Now we've got flags here. Okay, so the flags don't come into play until you've actually created the partition. So we've got BIOS grub, boot, and that's all we have. Let's give it the boot flag. Okay. And apply that. SDA3 to boot. Yep. Okay, so it's gone to SDA3. Successfully finished. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so let's run the Calamares installer and see what happens there. About Calamares 3.2.20. Okay, let's go. Next, we can choose American English for the keyboard for me there. So let's do that. And next. Now you can choose your time zone by clicking on the map. You can choose it by running through this one here. But for me, it's correct anyway. Australia, Perth. I can choose the other main cities in Australia, but Perth is mine. You can change your system locale settings. Mine is correct. And you can also change the numbers and dates. Locale will be set to Australian English. So, yep, mine is correct as well. You can set it to yours. And next. Keyboard, I'm going to go with default and it'll be English Australian and leave that as default. Can choose your keyboard of choice. And I'm going to do a manual partition. Next. Now we're going to, let's see, SDA3, edit that. I think we should format, and it's going to be boot EFI, and it's got the boot flag. So hopefully it doesn't complain. I think Calamaris doesn't complain as long as you got that boot flag there. I'm pretty sure that's right. So that should be okay. And SDA1 will be, we'll format that, and that will be our root. No need for any boot or BIOS scrub there. That'll be just our root mount point. And this one here, I'm not going to touch that. That's just going to be, for example, I mean, you could do this on any disk and whatever's left over. You can, well, actually, let's have a look. Let's see what we could do here if we wanted to. Format ext4, and I could set that as /home /user/var. So you can use that as a /home. I will choose to do no mount point because I want it as a data drive, and I'll set it up the way I want to set up myself. So that's how I'm going to do that. So you have got the options there if you want /home. Now /home can be very good if you're only going to use the same distro with the same desktop environment. /home is great, and you can update to the newest and just set that as /home again. And you should be right to go. There are some system files within the home settings here, if we show they're hidden under .config and all that, that possibly could change and not suit the updated environment. It can always happen. That's why /home can be good, and that can be a bit of an issue as well. So I'll just choose no mount point for that one. And I probably didn't show this one here, but yeah, that's you can choose the hard drive you're installing to, and then whatever partitions are on that hard drive is what you'll be working with, whatever is chosen as your storage device. We can choose a new partition table here from here. Let's just check that out. Okay, so you can do that. So I'm not going to do anything there. So you can edit like I've done, and you can delete from here. So you can do, there's a lot of things you can do as far as the basics go in the Calamaris installer. Now that always defaults with a B at the end. Must be the first letter of your last name. I just prefer just colon on that one. And this is I'll call it Lubuntu 20.04 VBox. That'll do. And password. You can choose to log in automatically from there if you wish. And we go next, and we look at the summary. So the summary will tell you your location, where it's set to, English Australian, Australian English, Australia Perth, keyboard default, and layout, and then the partition. So if we look at the partitions here, the blue one is the SDA3, which is this section here. The green one is SDA1, which will be the root drive, and SDA2 is the data disk, and then you got a little bit left over here in the like a grayish area there. So that's the current, and this is after. That'll all be the same because we're working with a fresh disk. So it's just going to reflect the changes we made, I believe. So before it could have been no boot partition at all. Could have been just one root partition with a boot flag. And and then it'll reflect the changes I've made here. So that's what that's all about. And it's written anyway what you've done. Format, well, that's what it's going to do. Format 512 megabyte partition. Device SDA3 with the file system of FAT32. And we've made this one 61 gig roughly. Partition SDA1 with the file system ext4. And then you've got this one here, the SDA2 with the file system of ext4. That'll be my data drive, data partition. and then it's going to set up FAT32 partition device SDA3 with mount point of boot EFI, and install Lubuntu on ext4 system partition on dev SDA1, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So let's install, and install now. And that is the install complete. I did spend a little bit more time in the installer. Have been getting a lot of questions lately regarding the install. I might just spend that little bit more time on the install so people can sort of absorb it a little bit more, because I tend to rush through it a little bit too much or too quickly. It's probably best to spend a bit more time so people can see what's going on, explain a few things a bit more. It just makes the video longer. I try to shorten the videos, but it doesn't matter whether you shorten the videos or make them longer. The watch times are pretty much the same anyway, so the percentage of watch time doesn't really change. So that was the install of Lubuntu 20.04. Next you will see me in the desktop on real hardware, and we'll take a look through the desktop of Lubuntu 20.04. Here we are on the desktop of Lubuntu 20.04. I have done a few things before I started recording, and that is I have set up some bind mounts, and you'll see that I have this 414 gig volume set up with the folders here, and they're bind mounted to these ones here. So if I try to delete anything, move to trash, it will tell me that you will have to delete it instead. That's just the way bind mounts work at the moment. Don't know if there's a way around that. So Lubuntu 20.04, we have an update. There are upgrades available. Do you want to do a system upgrade? This will mean packages could be upgraded, installed, or removed. So let's do an upgrade first. I have done a few updates on Lubuntu already. This one has just come through since I've started recording this video. Okay, so that's the update completed. When a restart is required, so I might do that first and then we'll come back to the desktop. So here we are back into the desktop, and we will have a look around. Lubuntu 20.04. It's a bit of a shame that the panel is just hiding the rest of that 20.04 there. Looks like it needs to be a different size picture just to fit that in. So on Lubuntu 20.04, one of the things I've noticed with Lubuntu is desktop preferences, changing wallpapers. Now, if we have a look at this path here, user share Lubuntu wallpapers is where you'll find the wallpapers. So if you browse, you can keep some in your pictures, I suppose, and select them from there. But if you want to check out, let's just cancel that for a minute. We go to computer, file system, user, share, Lubuntu. Just start typing LUB. Now there's two Lubuntus. I think it's the one with the lowercase l is where the wallpapers are, right there. And this will give you a better look at the wallpapers so you know what you're selecting. Now if we can zoom that in, probably a view, we have a thumbnail view here. Oh, there we go. Thumbnail view gives you a better, I was trying to work out how to zoom that in, but yeah, try the thumbnail view. That gives you a better look at the pictures themselves. So that's the path that you could use to change wallpaper. So we'll try that again. Desktop preferences, browse. Let's try this one here. User, share, Lubuntu wallpapers, 2004 City Bridge. We can open that and apply. And there's your new wallpaper. I don't know why that's not allowing me to. Now it's come up here. Was I missing something there before or something? I don't know. Let's close that and try again. Desktop preferences, browse. Alright, well once it's there it stays on there, so that's not too bad. It's a little bit confusing there. There's another wallpaper there. It's a bit hard to see wallpaper. So hopefully in the future they can have a bit better wallpaper manager, especially for newer people coming to Lubuntu. They might be just a little bit confused by that. Or they can just use the pictures folder. That would be the easiest way. Then you don't have to go searching through system folders to do that. You can just go to pictures. It's probably the easiest way. So maybe that's the way it was supposed to work. Now, the one thing with Lubuntu, they have Discover and the Muon Package Manager, but let's just take a look at Discover. This is your Applications Manager and your update as well. So you're up to date here, it says for me. It's about Discover, Settings. Now the settings is what I find very interesting. At the moment we are running on Ubuntu 20.04. So if I search for simple screen recorder, oh, that should have been an application, sorry. So we need to click on applications like there and then search in there. Actually, let's do a search for Telegram. Let's do that, it's easier to type. Telegram desktop, there we go. Let's just click on that one. And that is from Focal Fossa Ubuntu repositories. There's the source, Ubuntu Focal Updates Universe. That's from the Ubuntu repositories. Now, what I like about Lubuntu's Discover, or Discover itself, because Discover is also in Kubuntu, I would have to think. I'm pretty sure it is. Under the settings, you've got Snap here, and you can make Snap default. So if you click on that, it'll now say Snap is default. Now, if we went to Applications and search for Telegram, again, the source there is Snap. So what it's doing is it's filtering as you wish to find the Snap or from the apt repositories. So I kind of like that. This is what really Ubuntu should be doing, is having some type of filter like that. So if you just don't want to install a Snap, then you can easily find the apt repositories and the applications from the apt repositories, because sometimes we don't always want to install a Snap. So I like the fact that you can filter that out. I think that's really good. Now, I hope they don't change this. I hope they keep that there, because that's I like that. So now I can make Ubuntu default, and it'll search the repositories, the apt repositories straight off the bat. Oh, I scrolled my mouse wheel. So that's a nice, handy little feature there to have, and I quite like that, because then it gives me the choice of what I want to do. Nice one for the Discover, and Discover cops a lot of some criticisms at times, but it's good to see that Discover these days seems to be working pretty well, so there doesn't seem to be any problems there. You also got the Muon Package Manager, which is very similar to the Synaptic Package Manager, and that will probably straight out search for apt repositories or the Ubuntu repositories straight out. There won't be any snaps in here. So that's another way you can do that if you want to make sure you're searching the Ubuntu repositories themselves. So we'll do a Telegram search, and we've got a few Telegrams here, but we've got Telegram Desktop down there. So that would be the one you would install. So you can right click on that and mark for installation if you wish. And it gives you details down here when you click on it. So that is the Muon Package Manager. You can also do updates in Muon Package Manager as well. But I do like the filter process within the Discover application itself is very handy indeed. Within Lubuntu, I think they've done a lot more work under the hood. Things seem to be working pretty well. Now we are recording. Let's have a look at the specs on this laptop. I think we got htop in here. Let's just see how we're running. Now I am recording, running a few apps here and there, so we're just over 50% there on the CPUs, and the memory 633. Wow, that's pretty good. That is pretty good, I must say. Swap, I probably don't have a swap there, I don't think. Do I have a swap? No, I don't have a swap installed currently. That's list hardware, lshw, list hardware -s, I think, for short. And we can have a look at what I'm running here. Oh, it's it's actually dash short. Okay, let's try that again. HORT, and let's check that out. So this is my hardware here. It's a Pro Intel Celeron CPU N3060 1.6 gig. So as you can see, it's not a very overly powerful machine. It's actually a very low spec machine. It's got 4 gig of memory. Seems to be coping very well with the recording so far. Let's do htop again, check that out. And there you go. So 646 of memory being used currently is pretty good. So there's no problems there. So let's just try sudo free -h, I think it is. So we don't have swap. So there's a 0 swap on there. So let's create a swap file very quickly for this one. So we need to sudo fallocate, fallocate -l 4g/swapfile. Let's try that. So that seems to have worked. So we need to set the permissions for swap, which will be sudo chmod 600 /swapfile. We need to make the swap, so it's sudo mkswap /swapfile. So that's made the swap area. And then we need to sudo swapon /swapfile. Then we need to make that permanent in the FSTAB. So we need to sudo nano etc FSTAB. And as you can see, I've got my bind mounts in there as well. So we need to arrow down to the next line, and we need to /swapfile. Maybe we tab that, hit the tab key, swap, tab, swap, tab defaults, tab 0, and Control O and enter, Control X. Then we need to check whether the swap is on. Sudo verify that, swap on --show swap file 4 gigs, and we can sudo free -h, I think is the other command, swap 4 gigs. So I've got 4 gigs of swap just in case I need that. So with Lubuntu 20.04, you're probably not going to see a lot of changes on the surface. There's probably a lot more done under the hood, so to speak, to bring it up to speed with all the Qt components and all that sort of jazz, which I don't know too much about. All I know is what people will be looking for on the desktop. And you got appearance here, you got widget style, you can use Windows Fusion. I don't really touch any of this stuff. You got your icons there, so plenty of icons to choose from, or you can add your own. You got some LXQT themes, font, cursor, got your open box settings. Let's just spread that out a bit, and that there doesn't update as you drag it, so we need to do on that move and resize, update the window contents while resizing, and you'll find that that will be, and that's very hard to find, that edge there, very sensitive. So you'll see that now that updates as you move it. I only need to move it just enough for the fonts to show up here on the sidebar. So you got themes down there, appearance. You can change where all these buttons are by moving these around. So it tells you the window icon, which is probably this one here. Window label, which is this one here. So if you was to put the label to the left, so if we took that out and put L at the start, then you've got this one moved over to here instead of in the corner. So if we put that back, put the label in the center, then it's back to where it was. So that's how that works. And you can move your buttons around, your close, your shade roll up, which is, oh, there's no shade roll up there. So if we put a capital S in there, then that becomes this one here. So you can roll the window up like so. So you can add that if you wish. I'm not sure what omnipresent is. I've never used that before. You got fonts you can change, windows, options here, move and resize, mouse options, desktop, margins, and then you've got your dock. So I haven't really messed around with the dock. I'm not quite sure how that works. I'm not sure how the dock works. I really never messed around with that thing. And the other thing you've got is session settings. Compton X Compositor. I've turned that on. And the reason I've done that is when you configure panel, if you right click and configure panel, you've got this background color here. If you turn that off, background color, you turn it on, you can change the transparency of the panel to have a transparent panel if you take it all the way down the bottom. So I was messing around with that. If transparency is your thing, or you can put it all the way back up there, it goes completely black, or you can turn it off and then it follows the system theme. Or you can put a background image, so you can do that as well. You've got widgets, so you can add widgets to here. So if you wanted to add a widget to your panel, you press the plus button and you can look for widgets to add. One of them that I was messing around with was quick launch, add widget, and then you can drop application icons here. So if we was to close all this, go to some applications, say Office, LibreOffice Calc, just bring it over here and drag it, and you've got a quick launch to that. Even that opens pretty quick considering the specs of this computer. That was pretty quick. And I think you can continue to add things to that. So games 2048. So you can continue to add things onto the quick launch bar there. The other thing you can do here, if you want to move these around, you can right click and move to the right. You can't go any further than that. You can move to the right, or you can hold down the control button and move it while holding control. So you can do that as well. So in the new 2010, I noticed, because I'm running 2010 in a virtual box, just checking it out, it has here move right, move left, and it's got DND here, which is drag and drop. Took me a while to work that out. I had to do a Google search. I'm not going to lie. I was wondering what is control plus DND. And it works out that DND is drag and drop. It's not an any key or something like that. So you just hold the control button and drag and drop like so. That's what it means. So that's what it's got in Lubuntu 2010. I find the menu quite responsive, very quick to search. We'll just do a search for Calc there, maybe Firefox. So it is a very quick search menu indeed, which I think LXDE only had the simple menu, didn't have a searchable menu. So it's lightweight, it's got a searchable menu, and it's got a lot of things going for it, this one. It's got a this one here, Trajecta. Now, I have set that up. While setting it up, it asked for the outgoings and the incomings of the what is it? What is it called? Let me just check that out. Yes, it was asking me for the server settings, and I probably could have looked them up online, but what I did was I opened up, because I've got two computers, so it's handy if you got that. I've got Thunderbird running on my main computer, so I took the server settings from Thunderbird and put the same ones in Trajecta, and that run quite well. Only thing with Trajecta is when you open this up, it will be asking you for the password for your account every time. So I don't know whether that's meant to be normal or not, but it asked me for that every time. Desktop icons, you can choose to hide desktop items like so, and then the only right-click preference you'll have is that, so you can turn it back on, then you have all these other preferences. So if all these preferences disappear, it's because you've probably hidden desktop items like so. If we just go through it, you can just quickly check it out. It came default with GIMP. I think the only thing I've installed in here is Simple Screen Recorder. And it's got the Startup Disk Creator in there as well, which is quite a handy little tool, Startup Disk Creator, I must say. So that's pretty much it. You've got leave, log out, reboot, shutdown, lock screen here. About LXQT, version 0.14.1, thanks to some of the developers there. Technical info. You can copy that to the clipboard if you need to, that's handy. And you've also got an eject for any removable media, so let's do that. Let me quickly put in a USB. Now my mouse is not going to work, I'll have to use the touchpad because I don't have enough USBs on this laptop, so let's check that out. And then we have a removable media, open in File Manager, OK. And there we have some removable media. And then if we wanted to eject it, we can just click on this and hit the eject button here. No devices are available. So if we check the file manager, there is nothing there. So I can take that out. Be nice if it told you you can remove it. I suppose if it's not there, it's been ejected correctly. Let's remove that from quick launch, remove from quick launch, and that's remove quick launch. So you can do that. Quite like the calendar they have going here. It's quite looks modern, and it's bigger than normal, which I like. I like to be able to see the calendar a bit. There's Trajecta running there. I didn't put my password in, but it's still running anyway. Battery info. Now under the preferences, which I've already looked at, but we'll go back there again. I think we've looked at the session settings. You can install Kwin if you wanted to run Kwin under this, especially if it's running Compton at the moment. I could do, I'm not sure whether it's got any screen tearing, but it looks like it may have. Screen tearing is something you really don't want in a system. Some people live with it. I'm not too fussed, but it can be a bit annoying sometimes when you're watching things back. So I've noticed Firefox is a little bit slow on this, so that's probably understandable. We are in Australia, internet's slow anyway. Yes, there's a heap of screen tearing there. If I went to my network drive, Compton for screen tearing, so it's running Compton, and I've got all these Compton ones here. There's a fix for shadows if you get shadows. Featherpad, that's what I'm looking for. So you can save it in the .config. So you go to home.config. That's what you would do. So if I was to open another instance of that, you would go to home, show hidden, and it would be in the .config, and you would save one of those files. So this is the Lenny one, compton.conf, you would put in there. You've got additional drivers, software sources, apply full upgrade here, monitor settings. So window effects, you can mess around with all the effects there if that's your thing. Probably not my thing really, to be honest. Desktop settings, which is the same as right-clicking and desktop settings anyway. Power management, enable battery watcher. When power is low, do nothing or lock screen, suspend. You got all these options there. Warning 30 seconds. Level is low at 5%. You can up that and you can lower it. Lid, so you got choices for the lid, and when it's idle. Idle time 15 minutes. When idle, then nothing or suspend, hibernate. So you got all those options there as well under power management. Printers, I don't think I've installed a printer yet. Normally not that hard anyway. My printer's not on at the moment, so I won't bother with that. Normally printers are pretty good in Linux these days. Additional drivers, put in a password. And that's just like the Ubuntu one really. You got the additional drivers there, so it'll search. There should be no proprietary drivers on here, I don't think. On this one, maybe, no, there's none. So that is the Lubuntu Configuration Center. So if we wanted to have a look at some of the themes, I suppose, Lubuntu Arc, Lubuntu Round, I'm not sure what that did. Oh, that's Lubuntu Arc. So it's changing just a little bit up in the window border there. Lubuntu Round. So that's changing the window borders. So Lubuntu Arc is the default, and then you've got appearance, icons, and LXQT theme, ambience, apply. So there's ambience, dark, it's got a little bit of transparency in that one as well. Frost, I think that was their original one, I think, Frost. KDE Plasma, light, it's a bit bright for me, that one. System, Ubuntu Arc seems to be probably the best one there. Now under session settings, just to touch on the Compton again, if you want to start or stop Compton, you can do that here. You can start it, you can stop it. If you choose it, you can press start. It'll start Compton without restarting. I think that's how I did that. So if you're changing out window managers, if you put in KWin, you could probably start that. KWin you may have to restart. Got a reset function there. So in OpenBox settings, under Windows, you have prefer to place new windows on. So primary monitor, the primary monitor is where OpenBox will place dialogue, such as the one used for cycling windows. Primary monitor is with the mouse, monitor with the mouse pointer, fixed monitor, active monitor. So under session settings, I'm not sure if I touched on auto start, but you can choose to not start these things here if you wish, or you can add things to auto start. Default applications you can change here. Be nice if there was quite a few more in there as well. Maybe that's something Lubuntu will be looking at in the future. Also under the sound widget here, if you click that, it's only a left click. You can click the mixer and choose the mixer you want. So under this recording here, or the playback, if you if your sound is not correct, when you're playing back, if you're playing back under VLC, which is installed here, when the VLC is playing back, you'll get this option here to choose whether you want the, built-in audio. If your audio is not working, then you need to choose your built-in audio. That's where you can change it, but you've got to be playing back to do that. That's something that always happens. So you've got all these options here. Don't know if there's a way of turning off scrolling the mouse to change desktops. I don't see that being a problem anyway. So if you move that to the edge, it'll change desktops as well, as you can see. But you can right click and send to desktop. You can use layers, maximize, roll up, undecorate. So if you go for resize, you don't have to mess around trying to get hold of that pixel there in the corner and that. Just right click and resize and that'll do it all for you. That's pretty handy. And I like the fact they got show hidden on a right click there, which is pretty good. Say I need to do another one for this one. If I go into, say, templates, and I go to bookmarks, and you've got to be actually inside the folder, bookmarks, add to bookmarks, and under bookmarks you get templates there. Or you can right click and remove bookmark. So that's how I've done my bookmarks there, because there was none in the side here for your home folders. So I've added them as bookmarks. So that was Lubuntu 20.04. Been messing around with it here. I'm still only running at 730 megabytes of memory and a little over 50% on the CPUs, all while recording. So that's pretty impressive. Lubuntu is a very good lightweight distro, and I could only imagine if you put this on a high-spec laptop, PC, whatever, it would be blazingly fast. So it doesn't need to be restricted to low spec. I just review it on low spec to show you how good it is, because there's probably a lot of people who still are running low spec laptops around the world, and they're probably looking for something that increased the longevity of their computer itself, and I can only see Lubuntu could be a good alternative in doing so. Very good release here for Lubuntu. I think it's very stable, seems to be running all right. I've been running this for probably 3 weeks now. I didn't do a review when we did the Big Daddy Linux chat about Lubuntu because I had other things I was doing. So I thought I'd get around to doing it and have a look, and I'm pretty impressed with the way it's running. And yeah, I need it to be, I like to have a distro on the computer for a little while to make sure, you know, that it runs stable and all that sort of thing. So that was Lubuntu 20.04. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting and informative, and thanks for watching.